In this alternate timeline, the Vancouver Grizzlies never left Vancouver. What does that mean for the state of the NBA? What teams are affected by this? The Memphis Grizzlies don't even exist in this timeline. We are going to be diving into the implications of this multiverse event. Because of the Vancouver Grizzlies not leaving Vancouver, a lot of expansion teams grew in Canada and Alaska. And in this video, we are going to be diving in to see, is it a famous franchise or is it a multiverse mess? Make sure to stay tuned because we are reaching into the multiverse. Ben, so the first team that we are going to be discussing is the Ottawa Otters. Ottawa's name roughly means to trade. Obviously, if it stands for trading, it has to be one of the largest business capitals in the world. And being that it is the capital of Canada, no other team is more deserving of a spot in the NBA than the Ottawa Otters. Nearly half of Ottawa's population is actually under the age of 35. This can be interesting from a PR perspective because you really want to market to that young audience, their families, and their kids. Not to mention that the otters are one of the most adorable aquatic animals out there. Now, the real question arises if otters are actually intimidating enough to strike fear into your opponents. And to answer that question, the answer is simply no. Although otters can get aggressive at times, they're basically harmless, which is the sole reason I genuinely believe they deserve to be a mascot of an NBA team. What do you think about the Ottawa Otters off first glance?
You know what? The one thing I would say is this. Every big sports team, their name and their mascot usually comes from either their owner from the 1900s thinking it was clever, like the Browns or something, or something that would actually be scary. I don't know enough about otters, but I will say they don't seem scary enough to be a team. I think this idea is beautiful, and I think maybe expanding into Ottawa and expanding into this region is a great idea. And you know what? I think maybe if you look at it, it's marketable to kids. You can definitely put it on some, lunch boxes. You can definitely kind of market the kind of cuteness of an otter. And maybe they're just if National Geographic wants to help me out, maybe they're more silently violent and dangerous. So I could be wrong.
I feel like this is a brand that needs to be tapped into. I feel like the potential with making a marketable brand with such a lovable creature is the exact way to go. You're gonna attract much more casual fans, be like, you know what, I like otters. Let's root for the otters. But that's just my case, Ben. It's now our decision to judge if this is a multiverse mess of a team or it is a famous franchise in this universe. What is your vote for this Ottawa Otters?
Still a little on the fence, but I'll say, you know what? I think the marketability of an otter, I'm gonna have to go with it. This is good. This is a good opportunity.
This is a famous franchise.
I think this is a famous franchise.
Famous franchise. On to the next round. It's a famous franchise. Ben, the Ottawa Otters made it, but let's move on to our second team of the day, the Anchorage Salmon. The rivers of Anchorage, Alaska run deep with a wide variety of wildlife. I've actually been to Alaska twice, but none are more iconic and you could say truly Alaska than the salmon. Anchorage is a great city and it is Alaska's largest city. I think it serves to be a great option for an NBA team to consider when thinking of spreading the game of basketball around the world. What are your thoughts initially on the Anchorage Salmon, the team branding, and could this be a successful franchise?
I think, you know what? It could be. It could definitely, again, salmon is something that everyone has. Everyone has at least tried it, I think, in most cases, unless you're allergic, of course. But if, I think it's a good branding spot. I think, using, especially as you can see, using the salmon color with salmon, another brilliant idea. The one thing I would like to amend is this sounds very much like a college team in the sense of if you change it to this, I think it's a great idea. Instead of just the salmon, I think you should change it to either the fighting salmon or the flying salmon.
I kind of like that, the fighting or the flying salmon. That
Yeah,
has a good ring to it, more of a college team atmosphere, but it definitely
exactly.
has a good marketability.
You know, with animals, when it comes to the fish, like the marlins are the only one because it makes sense. I think it makes sense for the region of Anchorage that you use the salmon. I
Miami's
think
got the
maybe that
Dolphins too, the
well,
greatest
yeah,
football
but the
team.
Dolphins suck, so I would like not
Hey,
for that not to.
according to the song, Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. Anchorage's got the Salmon. They're the greatest basketball team. In my opinion, Ben, this is a famous franchise. What are your thoughts?
I think with the amendment, it's a famous franchise. So I'll go with yes.
It's a famous franchise. Moving on from the Anchorage Fighting Salmon, we are looking at the Calgary Coyotes now. That's Calgary, not Calgary. The city is actually also known as Cowtown, and Calgary has often been regarded as one of the richest cities in Canada due to its easy access to oil. Now, my question is simply this: do the Coyotes have the promise of being an NBA team, or do they not?
I think it's look. I like the rhymes. I like the scheme of using two C's. I like it, but I don't know. I don't know if it fits the city. I don't know if it fits the whole vibe. This sounds like something that would come more from like the Midwest, or maybe even closer to a state like Arizona. Even though I know it's not the Midwest technically. I think I don't know. I don't think it fits. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I genuinely agree with you. This was my least favorite one, editing. I definitely tried putting a lot into it. There's the coyote fur in the background of it, with a little. So I was able to add some creative aspects, but at the end of the day, I'm not the best graphic designer. This is the best you're gonna get out of me. But definitely, I think the Calgary Coyotes is a multiverse mess and should not be an NBA franchise.
100%.
This one's gotta be a multiverse mess. And last but certainly not least, this isn't just the Mount Royal Miners. This is the Mount Royal Miners. Mount Royal is a beautiful location in Montreal. The running theory actually is that the name Montreal originates from Mount Royal. Now, Montreal, Mount Royal, Montreal, Mount Royal, kind of sounds similar, right? Now, me feeling a little extra, I had to take the extra step, and instead of going with the basic answer, which would have been the Montreal Miners, I thought I'd pay homage to the city's oldest landmark. Definitely gives it a unique touch. Personally, my favorite design out of these four. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a great design. I think if we want to roll with that kind of like the Ohio State University vibe of it, it makes it very official. I like this idea. I do. I like the blue with the yellow. I think it very much fits the whole concept of what you're going for here. And I think all in all, it's a great concept.
Ben, I definitely see this being a successful franchise. The branding is there. Miners is just a really good team wherever they play for, Mount Royal or not. I definitely want to see the Miners make their way into the NBA someday and become a famous franchise. It's a famous franchise. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the Alternative Universe NBA logos and teams. Ben, it's been a pleasure hosting this with you, and we were able to sniff out some famous franchises in some different universes and different timelines. If you want to see more videos like this, spam that like button, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Banter Broadcast.